Alright guys, I know it's been a little bit, but I am in fact still alive. I've come to you today inspired to make a small info video because I opened two QCR Fiendsmith Requiems into boxes. Kind of crazy, the odds come out to something less likely than 1 in 6,400, which is less likely than 0.002% or something crazy like that. Like, it was really crazy. I was really happy when I opened them. But, okay, that's enough bragging. Let's get into something actually substantive. So I'm going to go through just the two real lines you need to know for the Fiendsmith at the start, and then I'd like to show you two decks I think that are not Snake Eyes or Yubel that can also really take advantage of the Fiendsmith stuff and the stuff you would be playing with Fiendsmith, as well as, I mean, like, any deck can play it and take advantage of it, but I mean, like, really take advantage of it. Either way, let's start here. So to start, just the Fiendsmith combo if you happen to see him in your hand. So if you see him, you go ahead and pitch him for the Tract. The Tract, or Tract is here, but I'm pretty sure it's just Tract. The Tract then allows you to go and search the Lurie, which you will then discard. That lets you, if I can find it, it gives you an extra body, and there's something important to know. But first we'll resolve Tract and discard. Now, it's important that's a discard, but that's how, that's why we're playing the Lurie. Now, keep in mind, Lurie is a mandatory effect, so A, that means it has to happen every time, and B, more importantly, you cannot chain block with this. So if your opponent tries to chain block you, I don't know how they would manage it, but if they try to, just know they can't. This just has to be chain link 1. Anyways, you special summon out the Lurie because it was discarded, mandatory effect. And then from here, you turn him into the link 1. And so now you've got two choices on what you want to do. The correct one is to use Tract here. This lets you fuse by shuffling the materials needed for the fusion that are... but it has to be for a Fiendsmith monster. There you go. You shuffle the materials back into the deck. And so the only one that we can make at this current time would be Lacrimosa, because it just needs 2 Light Fiends, and we had 2 Light Fiends. Then we go ahead and tribute the Requiem in order to special out the Fiendsmith from deck. Okay, so from here, there are two things you can do. Most commonly, what you will see is just an overlay for a 6, depending on what they need. If they need Beatrice, you go Beatrice here. If you need Wave King Caesar to prevent a Nibiru, you do that here. But a third potential option is you take the Fiendsmith Requiem, attach it to the Fiendsmith, and then you're able to tribute those two to special summon the Necroquip Princess because of the secondary summoning condition, that being sending the above cards, one monster equipped with a fusion, or with a monster card, the Requiem, and one monster card. So the Requiem is attached to the Fiendsmith, so that makes it the first material, the monster equipped with a monster card, and the Fiend monster card being the Requiem. Attribute those two to summon out the Necroquip Princess, and then you can shuffle back the Requiem to special summon out the Fiendsmith. Yeah, okay, good. I was making sure I didn't double do it. And that gives you 3 6s if for some godforsaken reason you happen to need 3 6s. Well, there you go. If you don't, have fun with your rank 6 of choice. Alright, so here, just a secondary line, or not really a secondary line, but if you happen to find a way just into any 2 bodies, so I just make it easy on myself here, any 2 bodies that then can turn into the moon. And this is sometimes relevant for specifically fusion lines, but we're not doing that, I don't think. But any 2 bodies turns into Moon of the Closed Sky, which then turns into the Link 1. The Link 1 then tributes, pray it doesn't get ashed, for the Fiendsmith. And then you need 1 more body to really extend here. So if you don't actually have the ability to do that now, what you do is you do what I said earlier with the Necroquip, where you attach the Fiendsmith Requiem to the Fiendsmith, and then tribute them or send them to grave in order to special summon out the Necroquip, and then shuffle back to extra deck a Light Fiend or deck, depending on what you shuffle back, so you can special summon out the Fiendsmith. And then from here, really just comes down to what you still have in the graveyard and what you want to make. So you could go for a Link 2, or you can go for the rank 6 again. You'll probably make the rank 6, but just for variety's sake, we're going to make the Sequentia. The Sequentia will actually let us fuse here. We don't have a good choice, I don't think. Yeah, we don't have a good choice, because it's either Dice E-Ray or the Lacrimosa, and the problem with Lacrimosa is we wanted to add back the Fiendsmith, but we're shuffling back into deck. So we can't really do much with that. If we had another fiend like the Fabled Lurie in the graveyard, then we'd be okay, actually. We'd just make the Lacrimosa. So pretend we do have that in there. Then what we can do is use the Sequentia's effect to make the other guy Dace Erase the Sequentia, to attach it, or sorry, equip it to Erase, which gives it a single double hot red Archfiend effect, which means it's an effect failure / imperm for any 2 cards on the board, but at one time. Now, if it had also, for example, this guy still attached to him, then it would be 3 cards that it would negate, but again, all at one time. It's a pretty good effect, but it's not necessarily like world ending. And this card still loses lit to stuff like Nibiru, so just things to be aware of. Alright, so how exactly do I plan on taking advantage of this for Phantom Knights? Well, I think it's pretty simple. Any way that you can make into a what's his nuts? A Torn Scales, there we go. Any way you can make it to Torn Scales, so we just did the simple Cherubini play here, will get us there. So we're going to do the Cherubini play, and the Cherubini play lets us send, I think it's Seer first? No, so you send Graph to Graveyard, Graph will send Summon Seer, you link these 2 off to make Bardiche, and then you use the Seer to bring back out the Cherubini, and then you use the Bardiche effect, Foolishing and Setting. So we go ahead and set probably this guy, and we Foolish him to Grave. It's all coming together now, and then you can normal summon out the Ancient Cloak, and then these are any 2 monsters. You know what that means. Closed Sky, and then you can turn Toast, and then it's the exact same combo we've seen before. And so you probably want to make sure that you use this to make specifically the Wave High King, though if you somehow need the extension, you have access to Beatrice. But you go through the full Fiendsmith at this point, and then you end up with the Wave King High Caesar. Just put him on the board because I'm way lazy. But we still have access to full Phantom Knights combo here because we haven't used the Torn Scales or the Ancient Cloak. So once you've done that, you can go ahead and just bring out this guy and search for the shiny guy, the Bootsman. Add him to hand. Special summon out the Bootsman. We've got Cross out here. We'll just go ahead and discard our unnecessary hand trap for the Torn Scales effect here. I guess we'll send him, right? As just the extender in case we need it. And then we can go just do whatever we want, really. Turn these 2 into this guy. Pop, he brings them back as a 4. So even though we're dark locked at this point, we've already gotten everything we really want out onto the board that's not dark. We're not going to lose to Nibiru, and if we were going to lose Nibiru, we negate that, they imperm, we negate that with Crossout. So we're big chilling. Anyways, we've overlaid these 2, or we're going to overlay these 2 to make a 4. I think we're supposed to make, it's been a minute, yeah, we're supposed to make this guy, because we already got that set, and then we can go ahead and banish the Bootsman in order to set a Fogblade. And then before we forget, oh, he's there. I was going to say before we forget, but it turns out I'm a bozo. I was going to use the effect of the extra Foolish here to get the trap, but once this gets used up, we'll be fine. That way we still have access to the Break Sword play. So yeah, we've passed on Protection from Nibiru twice. Rank up for Better Than Apo. We still have access to the Fogblade, and if they for some reason get rid of all of that, we still have another pop on top of that, and the recursion for Phantom Knights has always been insane. So that's something that I think is particularly good. In particular, specifically, most importantly, I just think that Phantom Knight's ability to put 2 monsters on the board is really powerful. And so not only is it 2 monsters, it's 2 monsters. Normally you want to get Torn Scales plus, boots or whatever. 2 monsters that first can be used to do the play for protection, that gets you to Wave High King Caesar, but then can extend after that through their whole combo. And so that's the first deck that I think is pretty neat, or pretty cool, that can work with the engine. And where would I be if I was not a Pearly stan? So here's my other pet deck. I'm sorry, Punk, you've been set on the side, but here's the deck I've been playing religiously for the last year, the one I've gotten my invite on, and the one I'll be playing at Nats. It obviously isn't this build, but I think this Pearly deck also has some pretty high potential to abuse the new engine because of the interaction with Lurry and the spells. So to start, you just kind of do your normal cats thing. If they try and negate it, we got crossout. If they do, they do. Let's just say they do, because that does in fact happen. We'll go ahead and just use the memory to summon out another cat. Bada bing. And then that mandatory brings out the Lurry, because it was discarded. That's why we're actually playing 3 Lurries in this deck, because it's a discard fodder. So yeah, this is a more like going full combo type of Pearly deck here. But what's important is any 3 bodies does get you to the Fiendsmith stuff, because you use the first 2 to make Closed Moon, and is counterintuitive as it may seem, you do actually want to make Moon of the Closed Sky frequently enough anyways, because it's an extra light fiend in the graveyard for a later fusion. But that gets you to Requiem. We've seen this thing before. And Requiem gets you to the actual Fiendsmith. And so here's the 3rd body that we need in order for this combo to really go all the way out, because that gets us to Sequentia. And now, yes, you could do the Requiem play, but we need the three guys in graveyard for that, or alternatively later on we need an extra body on the field. But from here, we'll go ahead and use the effect shuffling back to the extra deck some fiends. I'm actually not going to shuffle that one back to the extra deck. We're going to shuffle back the Lurry. Let me pretend I didn't put him back. So back to graveyard with you. That makes Lacrimosa. Lacrimosa can then grab your Fiendsmith to hand. Fiendsmith can then add Tract by discarding. There we go, Tractus, which you then activate, which adds a Lurry, which discards a Lurry, which special summons out a Lurry. And then this is why it's important you have that extra Embody, because we need to put the Fiendsmith back on the board. So we could just straight shuffle the Requiem, but I think we want to keep that as something we do later. So we're actually going to attach it to the Lurry, send the Lurry for, well, pretend I'm playing the Necroquip, I guess. We're just wholly unprepared, but put the Necroquip in, and then you can tribute that out. And then, wait, why did I do that? I'm a bozo. Pretend, never mind. We're going back on that play. We don't like it. We don't like it, because the problem with Necroquip is it's not a light fiend. So instead, put that back in defense. We are probably just gonna do that. I mean, yeah, we can't do what I want to. What I wanted to is like maybe make an SP or an IP here, but again, that's not a light fiend, so it does get a little awkward, but it is what it is. Because we need to use the Tractus. So we special summon out, put back to the extra deck. And then we use the Tractus here to shuffle back. No, we don't even shuffle back. We just, oh, yeah, we're fine then. We banish and send 3 of these guys. I guess you, and you, why not? That makes Lacrimosa, which can then have this attached to it. And my favorite part about all of this is, I mean, this guy's just chilling right now, is that we have full Pearly, or at least close enough. Unfortunately, our Black Cat did get hit, which makes it a little bit more difficult to like really go full Pearly here. It's almost better off just to use this extra memory and like the cross out to make another White Cat and pray we hit with the White Cat. Only problem is, even if we hit with the White Cat here, which we hit, to bottom, is we almost want to just make an SP here with these 2. Probably the right play in this position because of what we've got in front of us. Definitely is. But another way you could do it is you could use this, try and get a beauty memory, which we can guarantee, since we have 3 beautiful memories here, or pretty memories. And that just gets you an extra layer of interaction, just an imperm with your Pearly, because that makes beauty. And beauty is an imperm, if you didn't know. Why does it have to be so hard to attach it? So beauty is an imperm. We've essentially got like 2 imperms, kind of. But it also means that if they out it, then we go ahead and get 3 spells back if they don't kill us, which means they have to kill us in the next turn. And if we actually get the Black Cat here, then we probably get to the field spell, which gets us a draw or 2, or it gets us an extra quick play, which means we can make the plump, and then the plump goes into Noir. The reason that that's relevant is, or specifically Plump is relevant, is because Plump is 2 and its effect gets you to 4. You just need that extra quick play in hand to get to 5, and that gets you to nowhere. But yeah, it's neat. I think Pearly's neat, and I kind of like it with the stuff here. This is a more go all out variant where we actually run the Tractus, but for the sake of Pearly, you actually don't need the Tractus. So here's an example. Oh my god. So this hand is super gas, but if I were being more realistic, the only card I would have in the main deck that has anything to do with the Fiendsmith would be the Fiendsmith himself. And let me tell you why. The reason is you could use the entire Fiendsmith combo I showed it earlier is just 2 bodies. So, here's our first body, and then this would be a hand trap in a real deck. And here's our second one. So first we mill 3. Cool, we hit. Hand. And then that was our discard, and that was our first memory, which goes to graveyard. And that will summon out the Black Cat. And the Black Cat gets us to the My Friend. And the My Friend is yet another spell, but we just use these two to make the Moon of the Closed Sky, which turns into the Requiem, which turns into the Fiendsmith himself, the guy, the $150 man. Then we go ahead and to spell and trap, and this is where we do the Necroquip play. So you just have to pretend with me for a little bit that this is Necroquip, and then you shuffle back to extra, bring out the man, and just overlay these two for the DDD guy. Beatrice has some cute interactions here. Like for example, say I had a Black Cat as a normal summon still, but I don't have the spell I want in hand, right? So I could send the spell I want. Most of my lists are playing the Black Goat Laughs, so you can do that, or you could do like a really turbo turn 1 play, where you use Beatrice to send a transaction rollback on 1 turn and like a Mayakashi trap the next turn to skip their next turn's ability to summon. But it would, in the most cases, you're just summoning DDD Wave High King Caesar, and then going and doing some cool stuff here. So we just go ahead and try and get the Sleepy. Worst case scenario, we get a Delicious, and we just have to hard make the Noir here. Let's see what we get. We have to hard make the Noir, but that's okay. So in order to hard make the Noir, we have to use the Delicious, pitch another hand trap, because that's what the snows would be. Summon out Black Cat. We've already used the effect this turn, so unfortunately we can't do anything with that. But we can make a Plump. Well, okay, pretend I discarded this instead, I guess. Because you need the 2 spells engraved. So put this back to hand. And so, spell traps. So then we attach spell trap and a spell trap. And then we pitch, protect, and then protect this guy with that. Attach to the Plump. So now we've got a big enough Plump, but depending on what this hand trap is, you can either keep it or pitch it and just make another White Cat. And see if maybe we can get to the field spell if you're feeling like gambling on this kind of a day. We've already hit twice, so I mean, it's been a bit of a lucky turn. Unfortunate. We'll just add it to hand. 2 bottom. 2 bottom. But we'll go ahead and just give it to the Plump. Make it the biggest Plump possible is the best Plump possible. So you make a big old Plump and then Noir that hoe. Now, I wouldn't say the second list is necessarily better than playing an actual Pearly list with like crossouts and all the hand traps you want. But I do think it's kind of fun, because the DD Wave High King Caesar is like a better version of that Lear list bouncer, and so it's kind of cute. I think it's neat. Is it better? Maybe not. The actual Phantom Knights list has very, very, very high potential, however. That I actually believe in. This is just cute. Either way, guys, see you next time.